The sea was rough, and a fisherman named Albert docked in a sheltered cove at a small island. He needed to settle down and rest for a night. After securing his boat, he walked down the worn wooden dock that was battered from years of wear. He filled up his barrels of water and bought provisions. He decided to sleep under the stars to save money. Taking to a small space against a tree on the shore, he watched the waves, and he saw a small boy attempting to make a raft out of old timber. The frail boy kept falling through his botched raft, and Albert got up. "Let me fix that for you, child," he said. He spent the next few minutes putting together a somewhat stable raft, and the boy yelped in excitement. The boy didn't speak, and Albert decided to stay with him a few more minutes before standing up to leave. In Albert's mind, this child wasn't his responsibility, and even though it was dark, he walked back to his cozy spot in the sand, only to hear footsteps behind him. The young boy had followed him, walking unsteadily. "You're too tired. Rest," Albert said, and gave the boy his cloak to sleep under. The night breeze was chilly. Albert propped himself against the tree and watched the boy toss and turn as he slept. Albert spent the night pondering what to do. In the morning, when he went out, the boy kept following him. Albert bought him food. While eating, the boy said meekly, "Take me with you." Albert turned, shocked. "Why?" The boy replied, "I don't have anyone here." Albert understood, and he decided to help this boy as much as he could. The little money he had left was only enough to buy a few more meals on the island, so he decided to leave the next day. Albert took the boy to a tailor, creating a small cloak and a set of clothes. Albert discovered the islanders knew the boy and had cast him aside like a stray dog to live or die on his own. Albert felt their eyes constantly burning into his back. Albert brought the boy on board, and while the boy felt uneasy on the new surface, his eyes lit up in excitement as the waves lapped under them. "Cool, ain't it?" Albert laughed. "Let's set sail." The boy shouted excitedly. Albert chuckled. The joy of the sea called to him as well, and Albert saw a reflection of himself in the young boy. The next few days were rough. Albert named the boy Archie and began teaching him to fish, but the sea was merciless, and each day etched this into Archie's mind. During this time, Archie began to speak more freely. The once heavy eyes that only knew sadness began to understand kindness. Albert cooked up the fish he had caught, giving Archie a hearty meal. The boy smiled, happy to have somewhere safe to feel free. As the days went by slowly, turning into a blur, Archie learned to read and write. He had mastered fishing and now handled all the catching, cooking, and maintaining the ship. He had become stronger and was now taller than Albert. Archie yearned to know about his childhood, but every time he asked, Albert changed the subject, not wanting to bring up bad memories. Archie seemed to have forgotten his past, and as he became a young man, he never asked, only thinking that he had been adopted by Albert. One day, Albert fell sick, and Archie grew worried, not knowing what to do. He noticed a small island nearby. He remembered Albert had told him to avoid this island and to not go there under any circumstances. With Albert barely hanging on, Archie dismissed these thoughts and headed straight to the town, holding the lifeless fisherman in his arms. "I need a doctor now," Archie shouted as he walked around. People looked at him strangely. Their eyes burned a hole in his back, and he wondered why this town was so weird. An old lady pointed to the hospital, only for him to be turned away at the door. They refused to serve him. Even after offering all his money and the boat, they still told him to leave. Angered, he left with nowhere to go. He tried finding a hotel, but all were either full or refused to serve him. He felt fury and his body ached from staying up all night. He sat at the beach nursing the fisherman who peacefully passed in Archie's arms. Archie wailed that night. His father figure had left him all alone, and it was this town that refused to save him. Albert managed to get out some final words that sparked Archie's memory, and everything returned to him. He remembered the town and his past life. As he buried Albert, he smelled something from the sea. Looking up, he instantly knew something bad was coming. The clouds in the sky were not normal, and when he looked at the sea from the port, he saw the waves building. "A terrible storm is coming," he shouted at the people in the stalls and the shops that just moments ago refused to help him. "Young man, what did you just say?" an old man inquired. "Everything points to a terrible storm heading your way, and I would say you have until nightfall before it hits," Archie spoke. After years of being at sea under Albert's tutelage, sleeping in different places, different countries, he had grown to know the sea like the back of his hand. The people looked at him astonished. "Young man, you must know we banished you when you were younger. You're the spitting image of your father," a man replied. "Why tell us when you can just let the storm destroy this town?" "I don't want anyone to get hurt," Archie said. Archie got to work securing his boat against the storm and secured the islanders' boats as well. As rain began, he helped people close up their shops and move their stuff. After everyone was safe, he stood watching the sea, and the rain left him cold and wet. Someone called out to him to join them. He was welcomed into a home, given dry clothes, and they waited out the storm. The storm came hard, and it was the strongest storm that Archie had seen. The streets were flooded and some people's homes destroyed. Archie stepped out after the storm and tried helping as much as he could. The islanders came up to him, and the old men and women that knew him came to apologize. "Boy, we left you with nothing all those years ago. You were an orphan. Why? I don't know why, but thank you for helping us. We don't know the sea well, and we couldn't have known a storm that big was coming," the town mayor proclaimed, tears rolling down his cheek. Archie comforted him with a warm smile. "Don't worry, I don't expect anything," he said. "This is from your late mother," the mayor said, handing him a box. Inside the box lay a pearl necklace, 2 rings, as well as a watch and pictures of his mother and father. "Archie was your name given by your mother," the man added. The memories returned to Archie, and he choked up discovering Albert had known his real name. Heading back to his boat, and as he climbed up, a young boy stood behind him, his clothes tattered. "Can I come with you, hero?" the boy asked. "Sure," Archie replied, smiling warmly. He helped the boy up onto the boat and gave him clothes and food just as Albert had done all those years ago. "Let's set sail." "What's your name?" Archie asked the boy. "Albert," he replied. Archie nodded and turned the boat to the sea. "Albert," Archie said softly, as the wind steered them to new adventures.